Hello, Sagittarius. We're going to do your monthly May 2020 Practically Soulful reading. So this is a reading that is designed to integrate all that higher knowing, that higher wisdom, the subconscious stuff even. How do we ground down the 5D? How do we embody our higher selves? Well, it's about applying it in our physical reality, our everyday reality, okay? So it's all well and good to say that we're connected to our higher knowing, and it's amazingly inspirational when we're able to do that, by all means. However, you know, we've incarnated for a reason, yeah? We've incarnated for a reason. A very big part of that reason is we chose to engage in the spiritual classroom that is the human experience. So as empaths and sensitives and intuitives, it can be challenging, it can be enriching, it can be, well, we know that it can't be exquisitely enjoyable without it being excruciatingly painful at times too, yeah? So it's the balance, Sagittarius. It's about how do we do both successfully in our own way, on our own terms, you know, and that's individual and unique to us all. So if you have not joined us before, my name is Ali and I am an intuitive energy healer, and you can find out a little bit more about the work that I do with soul path healings and readings in the links below to my website and my Facebook address. I work with what I call the 5 bodies and 5 levels of being, and these readings in particular, the practically soulful ones, might address that on some level for you today. So obviously, you know, we are more than just a physical body, Sagittarius. We also incorporate our emotional realms, our thought realms, our energy body, and we are also a soul. And how those 5 blend and integrate and balance, and where we're needing balance, where we're needing more focus perhaps, is unique to us all. So that's the idea and the intention behind the Practically Soulful reading. It is designed for you to connect into some higher wisdom and apply that into the everyday reality and situations you find yourself in, okay? So I start the reading with what I call the 4 quadrant, the cross, the foundational cross of higher knowing and higher wisdom. And then we divide that further up into the 4 quadrants, and that might fall into practical applications like connections and experiences. It might fall into the 4 quadrants of, like I mentioned, the different realms of being within each of us, okay? So it's different for everyone, but I do aim to do all of that and also incorporate an overall message and theme for the month perhaps as well. So the frequencies that I pick up on are also can be otherwise known as storylines, if you like. So I do connect into the collective Sagittarius and ask for high guidance for all those that would be perhaps crossing my path and watching this video. So please know that the messages can apply to you. They are designed to be your core reading, your sun sign reading. As I do in my weekly videos, I do encourage viewers to go and check out their other zodiac placements, so their rising sign and their moon sign. But the practically soulful ones are designed primarily around your core, okay? So these are your sun sign readings for sure. Now, I do want to say, Sagittarius, I'm doing your reading as the second reading off the zodiac list because you guys were the second most viewed last week. So, and the other update for the channel is that I'm now doing the readings, not weekly, but fortnightly, okay? Because I am finding that the themes are spreading across a bigger time frame, so it is challenging for me to condense that down because I do like to sort of explain the bigger picture, but in practical circumstances as well, it's perhaps easier for me to do the fortnightly read so that I can get them to you guys on time and you have a schedule to actually run with. So I can't really use lockdown as an excuse anymore. We are well and truly into our routines, and probably the best way for me to deliver those weeklies is as a fortnightly read, okay? So just going by my own personal circumstances. But let's get started, okay? So we're doing your May 2020 Practically Soulful. If you haven't already, would love your support. Like, subscribe, and share. Hopefully the message resonates. All right, Saggy, let's have a look, my darling. Denial forms the center of your reading. Above this is trust. Below this is imagination. in the past is honesty, and what you've got coming ahead is surrender. Underneath all of this is the energy of grief. Okay, so Sagittarius, obviously when we are in that grieving state, it's natural and it's almost essential to truly honor that process within us, and it's unique for all of us. But it goes without saying that it does affect that sacral chakra area, our creative abilities, because when we are grieving, we are still in that letting go process, yeah? So if you're frustrated with yourself at this time, keep that in mind, that collectively in many ways, we have 4 planets in retrograde, okay? Collectively, we are all going back in the timeline on some level and reviewing, analysing, feeling our way through what has been, what was lost, opportunities that perhaps weren't taken. It's the very human way in which we do the shoulda, coulda, woulda. How much time I've lost since because I made that choice to trust. You know, it's all of this stuff is what I'm actually particularly picking up with you guys. But do know, Sagittarius, that this grief process is very natural, it's very normal, and it deserves the honour of your time and attention, yes. However, don't punish yourself, perhaps, if you feel like you aren't making those steps to create change, that this new hasn't quite arrived yet. In many ways, the collective Sagittariuses that I'm picking up on in very big ways, it is because you are still in that letting go process, you know. So we can't hold and welcome at the same time as let go. One has to happen first, yeah? And obviously, like the saying goes, we can't welcome in the new when we're still holding on to yesterday's stuff. And it's not that it's not worth holding on to or anything like that, but grief and that giving anything, a connection, a chapter of your life, a career, a part of yourself even, because even as we ascend, Saggy, as we ascend, we do go through a grieving process. As we go through a dark night of the soul, you know, when the ego cracks and breaks, we are grieving that old version of ourselves. There is this melancholy process, point in the timeline rather, where we are grieving our old self. It was easier perhaps in that youth and that infancy where we did not have responsibility, when we did not have perceptions that we do now. And I use the word youth and infancy in metaphorical contexts. Sometimes when I ascend and I learn something new, it can be both painful and heartbreaking at the same time. And I wish I hadn't have known is the energy that I'm picking up on as well, okay? So actually I'm feeling quite emotional connecting into you guys as a collective. So grief forms the basis of your reading today. I understand that losing something is an opportunity to appreciate it. And isn't that just a melancholy kind of sadness, Saggy? All right, at the crux of your reading, let's get to the nitty-gritty, is denial. I acknowledge my fear, but I replace it with the insight of awareness. So perhaps there is parts of your past or parts of this grief that you're not quite acknowledging fully yet, you know, whether that is our role in a situation and our role in the way things pan out, or the choices we don't take up, or the opportunities that we push away, or the things we didn't start back, whenever it might be, Saggy, you know, there's an element of denial. And it's not until we truly embrace something, bring it up close, front and center, and we hold it in front of us, are we actually working in the opposite energy of denial. So it's not until we look at it, you know, and I feel in many ways if you are sorting and going through things and you've recently come out of a time of being honest or having to face honesty, or being given the honest truth, because this energy is coming from your recent past, and the reason why grief is forming the basis of your reading today, and why you might be still in a blind spot with this energy of denial. In many ways, I think you do want, I feel, an escapism or a need to disconnect for a little while, to really root myself in some imagination and creativity. And if it does happen to be creativity, I do want to say that's going to help really move through the sacral chakra in a way that's going to help you move through and let go. It's so easy as an outsider to say, hey, there's this stuff you need to let go before you can welcome the new, sure, you know, but when we're in the thick of things, Saggy, when we're in the thick of things and we're feeling those feelings and when we're thinking those thoughts, and it's us that's going through our own timeline of events and everything that's transpired, and we're recreating conversations in our head, or replaying conversations in our head is what I want to say. When you are creative, okay, when you root yourself in the fertility of imagination and creativity, because this is the hive view, okay, I can talk on so many layers of this, but I want to encourage the Saggies that I'm connecting into to really move through this sacral chakra energy to restore and heal grief, to release, to unblock that energy of denial. The best way to do that perhaps for you at this point in the timeline is through creativity. That can be anything, you know. I can't draw for the life of me, but my ways in which I create is anything, you know. My background used to be in marketing and business development, so creating something from an idea is really basically just plucking a concept out of thin air and doing a business plan and a marketing plan. That might be a very mainstream kind of job, but it's still creation, you know. And so too is getting in the kitchen and just winging a recipe and really going with my feelings and how I feel like, you know, I want that to come together. If I do know the basic levels, I might be creating change by cleaning out the garage, you know, and really creating some room in there, or whatever the case may be. You know, I might be getting pen to paper and writing, I might be singing, I might be writing music, poetry, I might be, you know, doing textile stuff, I might be really getting crafty with DIY projects at home. It's anything. You can create, you can activate the energy of transformation, the energy of movement, and showing yourself that you can actively participate in a point within your reality where you are transforming something from one thing to another. So that is as wide as it is deep, as it is high. It literally is anything, Saggy. So I strongly encourage the Sagittariuses that I'm connecting into to truly connect into the imagination energy here. Root yourself in imagination. Use your imagination to connect into creativity. Because I don't want to say use your imagination and this grief will go away. It doesn't work like that. It's almost a distraction process, but yet it's working in that corresponding contrast. Now, the reason I say that is, think of the complementary colors. The heart chakra is green and the solar plexus is yellow, yeah? By working with the solar plexus, I'm working with that complementary color to activate life force, because it is through the will that I can open up myself, okay? The orange and the blue, whatever the orange and the purple, you know, think of the opposite complementary, okay? So when you are creating, you are also processing, because I can see someone kneading bread, you know, even if you're in the kitchen and you know, it's going to activate that energy for you to help you unlock the energy of denial, to start to see things, and suddenly into your consciousness and into your conscious awareness might arrive an idea or a thought, and you go, you know, I never really looked at it like that. Or you might get sparked to suddenly make that phone call, or have that conversation you've been wanting to do or felt that you had to put aside. Work with the energy of creativity this month, Saggy. I feel like it's going to help you release, because there's this focal point I keep seeing. There's this release that needs to happen before this new can come in. You've got some beautiful surrender energy coming up in the future, you know, and when we truly do surrender our need to control, we do it on so many levels. You know, who can truly say that they're free and they're happy with how this? Do you feel free in the mind because you're not thinking about how to pay the bills? Do you feel free in your emotions because there's no karmic, you know, balancing that needs to happen within self or within connections? Or, you know, do you truly want to feel free and surrender to the timeline that regardless of what has happened, everything has happened exactly as it has had needed to get you to where you are today? Because this is all pointing to get you to where you need to go tomorrow, which has been predestined and planned by you and your higher self, you know. There's this beautiful surrender energy. I do feel in many ways I'm talking to Sagittarius, because you guys are almost going through 12th house type energy transits, okay? Before our birthday, so before your birthday at the end of October into November. No, when do you guys start? You guys start in the middle of November, end of November into December. So before your birthday, the month before your birthday, the zodiac sign that falls before you is Scorpio, yeah? Not Libra. When that transit happens, that is your 12th house transit. You are going through deep subconscious stuff, okay? You are just about to get your solar return. You're about to get your birthday, you know, your solar return when the sun returns to your sign. You're going through 12th house transit energy, which is a deep purging, a deep release, a letting go of the year that has been to prepare you for the year that will be. And you know, ecliptically, bear with me, you are also now going through, and I mentioned this in one of your videos, I don't know if I did it in your last monthly or for a weekly, you are also now going through an ecliptical 12th house kind of energy transit. Now, what does that mean? So Cancer and Capricorn have just come out of a 2.5-year ecliptical cycle where the lunar and solar eclipses were either hitting Cancer and Capricorn, big times for both Cancer and Capricorn signs. It is now your turn. You and Gemini, because Gemini is your opposite, your zodiac opposite. And here's the beauty when it comes to tarot, okay? So you guys, so Sagittarius is symbolized by temperance. It's the blending, the spiritual blending, the spiritual healing. Gemini is represented by the lovers. It's head-heart decision, but it is also divine love. We are spiritually healing divine love. It is actually such a beautiful beautiful ecliptical cycle, but it's going to push us. It is going to push us in every sense of the lines of ego. However far ego has let us or allowed us to be pushed internally and externally, is, you know, there is some beautiful transits that is going to come because of this ecliptical cycle. It's huge, because what Cancer and Capricorn were doing was ultimately balancing the divine masculine and the divine feminine, okay, which is essential before unification, before uniting anything within ourselves, and it needs to be merged within Saggy. The divine masculine and feminine energy is merged internally first in order for that union to happen, to birth a new version of us, to birth divine child. Yeah, that's the referencing I use in my healing work. But in order to truly experience transformation and that new generation, that new energy, that new level of consciousness, union must happen. We must successfully merge the drive and fire within us with our intuition and our nurture, you know. That had been happening for 2.5 years. So think back on everything as far as your role as a woman, or your role as a man, and how that's fundamentally been tweaked as a grown-up now to what you've known, what you've been doing, the relationships you sort of felt comfortable in, what you were seeking for in a partner, and how you really became unto yourself in the last 2 years. And this is probably more prominent perhaps for Cancers and Capricorns, yes, but it affected everyone. It was the gift of the ecliptical cycle to all zodiacs. Now you are tasked with leading us, because you are the archer, okay? For every time you have been pulled back in life, you wait and see what happens over the next 2.5 years, my dear. So if you are going through grief, if you are going through denial and you got shocked with some truth that perhaps hit you really hard recently, you are feeling fragile because you're being asked to trust at the moment, take heed, get to the crux of it now, because now is the time. You will be soaring, okay? And that's not about, okay, I just got to fast forward to next week and next month and June, or whatever the first ecliptical cycle is. It's a lunar eclipse in June for Sagittarius. Or is it May? I'd have to check that. It is not about that. It is not about rushing the most crucially important parts of our spiritual journey, ascension and upgrades and genuine integration of higher knowing. We can never rush these things. I do see here that I'm talking to a lot of Sagittariuses that are going through a deep transformation at this time. But I want to guarantee you, and I never guarantee or put money on anything, I can guarantee you, if you utilize this time now to truly get to the crux of the journey today, what it has taught you, what it has gifted you, and if you can say thank you, I know that I've led my own way and it has been for a reason. I do not deny what I am now seeing about myself, both shadow and light, okay? And I will surrender, because I know that this path has been paved for me long before, and it is not external to you, Sagittarius. You have paved this path for you long ago. You are just simply grieving an old version of you that no longer exists. And yes, there was a timeline for her, and yes, there was a timeline for him, sure. Because in grief, you know, perhaps the hardest thing and the most complicated thing when it comes to grief is we don't only grieve the time that was or what has been, but we grieve what could have been, all the visions, the dreams, everything that we had planned and planted in our hearts and in our minds. I feel like crying. I feel like I'm talking to a Sagittarius that knows, strongly knows that that timeline no longer exists, whether it is within a connection, whether it is in a career, or you as you know it, and you find yourself recalibrating as your connections around you and your friendships are falling away because they belong, and your career, your job, whatever the case may be, it belongs to this old version of you that no longer exists. Yeah, like when a mother is about to have a baby for the first time. She's no longer a girl, not quite a woman yet, you know. Doesn't matter how old she is. When you have your first baby, there's two distinct versions of you. And there's a grief that happens there. As beautiful as that gift of new life and love is, there is a grief there for that girl that had no idea what love truly can be, yeah? I feel like crying, goodness me. I just connect to you guys so strongly. Every reading is so different. I feel like an emotional wreck if I'm doing a few videos a day. Oh, bless. Okay, my dear, let's have a look at the tarot. That one wants to jump. 8 of Cups. I'm going to leave it because that is a massive letting go of some very old emotions. It's very emotional, but you know this first week in May, or when it comes to your emotional body, you know that there is a big letting go, a karmic letting go. I am now flooded in goosebumps. Is that even the right English? When I get stuck into the soul connection, I'm just like, forget about speaking properly or correct terminology. I just like make sounds. And there's just feelings that come through. Saggy, you know that there's an emotional letting go that must and is happening. And you are. You also feel a bit flooded with options and choices too. You know, when the 7 of Cups shows up, you've 8, 7. There's consecutive stuff here. Whether we're going up the ladder, down the ladder. The King of Wands, you might be connecting into another fire sign, but that is also yourself, all right? 3 of Wands, optimism, seeing manifestations happen. Page of Cups, an apology. The 6 of Swords, moving into calmer waters, moving away. The Hermit card, the Justice card. The Knight of Swords, strong moving forward energy. 9 of Pentacles. The Knight of Cups. And the 3 of Cups. All right, my dear, underneath this, wow, Pisces got this too. Is the High Priestess. Underneath all of this is the High Priestess. You deeply, intuitively know that this change, this transformation, what you were denying, what you were needing to let go of in this grieving process, having to have faith and trust as you look up, you know intuitively that there's other stuff going on here, okay? And I don't know if that's something that needs to be addressed, because I feel like you are walking away from something here. Sagittarius. You are at least wanting to deeply I feel like this is really old, okay? When I said deeply release emotions, when the Eight of Cups show up, we are walking away. It's not worth our emotional investment. It's not worth, but you know, I feel particularly in this, and it's true for the Eight of Cups. You intuitively know it is time. You intuitively know that this new chapter, this new version of you is beckoning you, okay? He didn't quite get his 10 of Cups, he or she, okay? Whatever, a situation, an old marriage, an old connection, an old life plan even. It didn't quite make it to the 10 of Cups for you, Saggy. You know, it was only the 8 of Cups, but that's not any reason to think that it'll never happen again. But I feel like when this card shows up for you in this position, it's very much about, you know what, back to the drawing board, back to you, back to your core essence, back to perhaps even looking at options about what your new plans and goals can be, yeah? But there is a walking away here from old karmic emotional patterning. Have no doubt. I feel that strongly with the placement of this card in your reading. Because then you're suddenly like, okay, once that's all gone, now what do I do? I'm feeling really overwhelmed with choice because I had invested energetically, subconsciously so much in that other stuff, that old connection, that old vision, that old version of me, that old game plan. Now I'm feeling overwhelmed because it's almost like with a letting go, there's this rushing in. You might be connecting in to another Sagittarius, Aries, or a Leo, a fire sign, you know, but when the divine masculine element of your suit shows up, this is that drive. You are the divine fire, okay? You are the divine creative spark. And in releasing these emotions, it's actually activated the floodgates for your true essence to come in. But not only just the nurturing divine fire and the Queen of Wands, but that genuine drive, okay? So many Sagittarius are going to have that boost in the first week of May about what options are going to be right. You're going to be excited by options too. Make no mistake about that. Like you're going to have, once this emotional release happens, there is this automatic boost, like drive, passion, creativity, clarity. This person, this King of Wands, he gets what he wants. He knows what he wants to, and he is passionate about his focus. So there's an invitation for you in the first week of May to truly connect in to that masculine element of the divine fire. You might be connecting to another, like I said, a Sagittarius, Aries, or a Leo. There's options here when the Seven of Cups show up. In other tarot decks, okay, in traditional tarot decks, one of them, the genuine message behind the Seven of Cups is overwhelm. I also like to call it my hungover card. You know, when we have too many options, like the saying goes, there's nothing worse than, the only other thing worse than one option is two, because then we start to get a bit indecisive. I don't feel like you are indecisive at all, though, at all this month, Saggy. Like you're needing to go in, if anything, if you have not already, you know, but you are not holding back per se. You are not indecisive. You're getting to the crux and the truth and the core of what it is that you're wanting moving forward. And even when you don't quite know, you will actually say, I haven't got an answer for that. And if any requests, you know what I mean? Like you will say, I don't actually have an answer yet because I haven't quite figured it out myself. So I'm just going to take my Zoom time, my in time. But the Seven of Cups shows up, you know, all that glitters is not golden. July feels significant, but for you to activate this energy is what I want to say. And that just happens around the same time as when your ecliptical cycle kicks off. So it might take you another 8 weeks of this deep letting go, this catharsis, okay? Everyone is unique to their ascension timelines, all right? Their growth and transformation timelines. It might have been referenced to the last 8 days, the last 8 weeks, who knows, okay? It's completely unique to you and whatever you're taking from this message. But you will face this energy, you will embody this energy, okay? To the point that you'll probably even feel a little bit overwhelmed with the choices you have on your path. And I do want to say, not all that glitters is golden. Not in this deck, but in the traditional tarot decks. One of the cups has like a snake in it. The other one has, you know, so I think this one's got poison ivy. That one's got a flame, cosmic light, the stars. There's an angel there, no, a dove, rainbows, okay? So you get the idea. they're so beautiful and enticing, and but do you necessarily want to connect with something that brings solely just the fire element? Do you want something that is simply peaceful all the time? Maybe that's not you. Maybe you're wanting a mixture of both. So you're wanting the poison ivy because it's beautiful, but it's a bit risque. I do want to say, I keep feeling, in particular, when I see that combination for you, you will connect into that energy in July. That feeling of that King of Wands energy. You are definitely moving towards peaceful and more calmer waters. When that comes to your emotions, yes. If that is in relation to an apology, whether you need to apologize to yourself, Sagittarius, whether someone owes you an apology or you owe them an apology, whatever the case may be, you have manifested this opportunity to move towards more calmer waters. So if things feel turbulent, confusing, overwhelming now, you're in the second week of May, you are moving towards more peaceful times, definitely. You will also manifest and notice your manifestations in some way. You will notice the changes beginning to present themselves in your physical reality. The Page of Cups talks about the expression of emotional apologies. Now, that might, I don't know what it is that you're in denial about here. I don't know what's recently happened in the past here when it comes to honesty, but let me just clarify. I can't always expect the truth from others, but I can expect it from myself. In the recent past, something's hit you. You're probably still in a little bit of denial. At the crown of all this is trust, whether they're actually, if I look on the other side of that coin, to the shadow elements, maybe you do have trust issues now because there was something you're in denial about and you've recently found out a truth of something. We are in retrograde season. Maybe that applies to you. Maybe that applies to a connection in your life. We are in retrograde season now, which fundamentally brings up everything that was hidden, all right? So true intentions, true character, true motivations, parts and things that were hidden and kept on purpose. I do see you're moving towards calmer waters after an apology, though. You're manifesting in, or you're seeing the results of this peace that you've been seeking because of these things. Let me just clarify. Honesty. It might be connected to a mother or a mother figure. Your fears around motherhood, your fears around a relationship of substance, whether that was or wasn't a relationship connected into you being a mother, so whether you are the father, whether you are the mother. An 8-year story. Maybe there was a level of honesty that was reached in the recent past, okay? I feel like I need to clarify. Trust in the wisdom of your own journey. You don't have to see the next 200 steps when it comes to the Hermit. He is guided by the light of Aquarius. It is in his lantern. It's not a candle, it's a light. It's a star. He only needs to worry about what's going on right now. Focus on the now, okay? What are you in denial about? You're holding back on karmic justice. You're holding back on a divorce, separation, a higher connection. Okay? There's an element of you that is, I'm talking to a Sagittarius, that will successfully surrender to this letting go process and really step into yourself. And when you do, you connect into the Queen of Wands. This is the divine counterpart to the King of Wands energy that I talked about earlier. Sorry, 2 different decks, but this is the divine counterpart. Queen of Wands, King of Wands, okay? There's a karmic release of a cycle, of a relationship, of an old version of you. And, like I said, as an outsider, it's so easy for me to say, just let go, just move on, just, let go of that grief. It doesn't work like that. It's a process, yeah? We all know that, Saggy. But trust that this month is actually quite pivotal for you in many ways. You are stepping out of... Now, I know you're not a water sign, but, working with Chiron, Chiron, this is the wounded healer, this is the victim, this is he who tells a story from the pain of his past. But when we can also get into shadow with that too, Saggy. We can work with the shadow elements of that where we're playing a victim. We are not the victim of someone else's choices or words or deeds until we actively choose to be a part of that reality. Just because someone comes at me and determines I'm not going to do this or I won't do that, my accountability is to myself and how I can transform that situation, and how much I have given over my power to let them navigate and influence my experience that much, that I'm actually relying on them so much to create an experience for me. Yeah? There's a karmic balancing here, a separation, a letting go, a severing. You are also separating from this role you have played as the wounded healer, and from this role that has ultimately kept you held back from karmic justice. Maybe you were watching, waiting for someone to act, or maybe, you know, you were frozen in fear in many ways when it comes to these elements of being a mother, of holding a connection because it was a nurturing connection, or we thought it was. The kind of mother I want to be, the kind of relationship you've always wanted. I feel like it's an 8-year story that you are closing, and you have gotten raw. Maybe there wasn't even a conversation. Maybe you are just getting honest with yourself, you know. But you are no longer in denial when you address the karmic balancing by not holding back anymore. Okay, I know it's easier said than done. You know, it's a deep grief. Wow. After deep grief, after change, whether you activate this yourself, there's a recognition of who and what has brought the coin to the table that will be relevant for someone out there. Look at this, because I wanted clarification on this denial energy, right? And so I said, the Justice card came up. It's this karmic balancing, the separation and divorce. I'm moving away. I'm not holding back from wanting that now. I'm not holding back anymore from wanting karmic justice, okay? This is not about retribution. This is about finally speaking up and no longer holding back. Finally taking action and accountability for self and not playing a victim to my circumstances. Because the next one up from this is the Ten of Wands, and that is actively choosing to carry the burdens of others that do not actually belong to you. You know, it's feeling overburdened by a false sense of identity I've given myself in order to be this carer, this provider, this carrier of stuff, this empath that's doing empathy all wrong, you know. But you have to be empathic with self first. This is about trauma and heartbreak. Maybe the last 3 years are significant. Maybe betrayal is significant. You are deeply releasing because you've awakened to this. I know, right? How much healing do we need to go through? I didn't realize there was this active thing. Why am I still crying? It was such a long time ago. Like I said, it could be as far as 8 years. It could be 3 years ago. Maybe something 3 years ago you did not quite acknowledge. You did not heal from. That is now balancing. Maybe that played out in other ways, in other connections. This is the awakening card, you know, the Babylon. Forget about Babylon. All things that are built on shaky ground will always fall. When things are started, connections, chapters, careers, when they are started on false pretenses or on shaky ground or with unclear intentions of what we're doing and why we're here and why we're actually building this thing, before you know it, we can start anything. And it gets to this point where it's this thing, a relationship, a lifestyle, a 3-year journey that all of a sudden comes crashing down because we knew intuitively back here. There's a balancing that I want to say, if there is court stuff here, it will come crashing down, okay? No holding back. It will come crashing down and it will balance in your favor if you have done things justly, if you have followed the right side of karma. It will go in your favor, is what I want to say, because there's a flush of love here. The Ace of Cups guarantees a brand new emotional reset and beginning for you. This karmic cycle has to close. This is that thing that I was saying at the start about the letting go before the new can come in. Here is your new. You are closing a karmic line, frequency, chapter, patterning. What am I up to, darling? Moving into more peaceful waters. You are choosing to move into more peaceful waters, okay? The Hermit has shown up a couple of times for you in your reading. The Justice card is here again, okay? The Knight of Swords. You are rushing towards, and I want to say, you know, karmic justice, the wisdom of karmic justice is rushing towards you from a spiritual message point of view, Saggy. The wisdom of karmic justice. This is the scales of Mat. Okay, when we die, when we pass on to the next world, the scales of Mat is what weighs the weight of our soul against the weight of a feather. What do we take with us? What righteousness, what gifts, what mistakes? You know, what regressions do we need to write in order for us to get to that point in our timeline where we are weighed and cleared and ready to transition to the next stage? That's what you're going through. You don't have to meet yourself at the afterlife in order to go through that process. We go through that death and rebirth cycle so many times in our experience of life. That's where you're at. There's something rushing in. You're getting a lot of you're wanting to move forward. Not only are you peacefully moving forward, you begin to gallop by the third week of May. You get this clarity of what, and it is coupled by this King of Wands drive and passion and focus that I was talking about earlier, because this is you as the minor arcana of the Empress card. Maybe there is a separation, maybe there is an ending here, yeah? Maybe you're letting go of the fruitfulness of the past and the position you held, the house you own, the car, whatever, okay? There's this honesty here that had to be dealt with and everything came crashing down. But look, not far away is the Nine of Pentacles. She is the minor arcana of the Empress card. You have to start somewhere, and somewhere you will start, because there's this offer here, this offer of love, this new choice, this new connection, this new pathway offers you emotional fulfillment. And you will commit to not only what emotionally fulfills you, but what financially sustains you. This is not just financial, it has to be sustainable. And what is sustainable to you at this point in your timeline, what you will genuinely feel like you are celebrating, okay, is this sense of self-sufficiency. This is big for you. Then, and only then, will you feel like a genuine coming together of your emotional body. Let's talk about the four quadrants, because this is about emotions and fire, and we know when we mix that, a lot of steam, yeah? So the recent months, let's go back. 9 days, 9 weeks. The last 8 years, 3 years have given you so many reasons to steam, and probably you have held that into yourself. Yeah, maybe you've dismissed it in your Sagittarian way and went, just focus on the future and keep moving forward and be optimistic. And you are great at that. But this is the crux. This is the time you are having to address all that stuff that this grieving of the old you, acknowledging, not denying the parts of yourself, your journey that must die and be let go, and just being seen for the last time, you know. What you are genuinely wanting to come together in your emotional body. And this could be a celebration with family and those who feel like family, okay? What you're wanting to genuinely celebrate is this fulfillment in love. And to you, it happens first with self and self-sufficiency. Knowing that I've worked hard to create the life I have, regardless if it looks half of what you used to have. You know, the 9 of Coins guarantees that I've done it my way. And everything I have, I've gotten myself. It might have taken me 3 years to build myself up to where I am. It might take you 3 years from where you are today. But make no mistake, you are merging. You are coming together in the emotional body. Remember what I said earlier about the divine masculine and feminine? This is not just about an external counterpart. This is within you. This is union within you. And a very big part of union is this grieving process, is acknowledging where we are being in denial, is surrendering to trust. A very big part of that process is getting raw and real with ourselves, Sagi, and being honest and accountable to our path. And rooted in the foundation of imagination, you know, you truly are limitless in what you can achieve. This month offers you beautiful opportunity to trust your intuition. The High Priestess, God, I could talk all day about the High Priestess. You are closing a map, okay? When the Ten of Swords shows up, you are, without a shadow of a doubt, closing a massive karmic cycle. The worst truly is behind you. The last 10 years have shaped you. What you have coming up is the Ace of Pentacles. This is a guaranteed, tangible, new beginning of holy dooly. I'm sorry. What are you doing to me? I was like crying at the start of your reading. Now I'm like laughing. This is you. The Temperance card in the Major Arcana. Career, money, commitment, marriage, the next level up in a relationship, the relationship you have with yourself and your feelings of self-sustainability in your business, your job. Make no mistake. You are going to begin a 2-year ecliptical cycle. You will continue, don't get me wrong, you will continue to eclipse the old versions of you that no longer resonate, the old connections, old ways in which you've responded to life or not responded to opportunity or played down your talents, whatever the case may be. Divine counterpart. If you are single, you will be connecting, okay? There's a beautiful spiritual healing for you this month so that you can truly start all over again. It's fantastic, Sagi. The Knight of Wands. You've got all the wands now. The Knight, the King, the Queen. These are the people of your soul tribe. This is all elements of you. I want to think of the Child, the Maid, and the Crone. Yeah, we know about that. Knight of Wands, Queen of Wands, King of Wands. Think of it in the same way. Stages of your life where we were youthful, optimistic, and perhaps not even really we were non-committal. We were just floating, cruising, having fun. And then we really embraced that element of ourself that was sensual and a bit more mature and knew how to intuitively grab life, male or female, doesn't matter. And then we settle into the highest element of our suit. The king of your suit is the King of Wands. He comes with all of that, but a next level, the masculine level. There is no right or wrong when it comes to whether we are the masculine or the feminine. They offer both gifts. They offer divine counterpart perspectives. But when it comes to the masculine energy, which women inherently need to embrace in a healthy way, it's about going out and getting and what we want, rather than waiting to receive, being patient or intuitively feeling our way through things rather than speaking up and stating a boundary. That's an action. That's an out force, it's this mask. I can talk all day about that. Fool, new beginning, Wheel of Fortune. Dude, you are closing chapters. Sorry to call you dude, but I'm just getting really excited. The World. Okay, Sagittarius, if you don't believe that you are not closing karmic chapters, that you are not hearing massive shuts of doors to the past you, the past version of you, and I'm even going to say Sagittariuses that have moon signs need to be watching this, okay? So I might even put that on the post when I do this, because there's a lot of emotional closure here. And that's important. Our emotions activate our creative energy, which is what you are, Saggy. Our emotions are potent keys to instill some form of action when it comes to creating change and creativity. Look, I can't make this stuff up. Yes, you at this point in the timeline, at the start of May, whenever the case may be, you may be going through some deeper grief, deeper healing, deeper letting go, this healing time where you don't want to talk to people. You might be locking yourself up in your house, crying, releasing. feeling lost. Maybe that's what this year has felt like for you, Saggy. But like I said, don't forget, it is like 12th house transit energy before your solar, before your ecliptical cycle begins in June. You are definitely closing a massive karmic, you know, the relationships you have formed might all look similar in some way, and the ones you connect in from here on in are going to be fundamentally different, because you are now matching your new vibration, your new elevated vibration to your outside world. That's what all this internal stuff has been for. It has been of purpose, okay? Honor it, sit with it, get raw and real with yourself, surrender. You don't need to surrender control, you know, in many ways. This is the choice that I didn't even need to control in the first place. I just allow. Yeah? Alright, my dear, I can talk all afternoon. I loved your reading. Thank you. I hope you have a deeply transformative month, and that this is only just the beginning of your next level of ascension and awakening to this new version of yourself as you, with love, close massive doors. You know, you have learnt a lot, you have grown a lot. There is more to learn, alright? There's more to love, more to do, more to see. And you are galloping forward and stepping into the essence of yourself, and it's beautiful. Okay, Sagittarius, have an amazing month. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.